Cinema.
You're gonna turn your woman into a cyborg, then I'm gonna turn you into a cyborg.
Oh yeah, Cyborg Cop 2. So believe it or not, this is a sequel to Cyborg Cop. Kinda makes sense with the 2 on the end. Now if you haven't seen the first film, check out my review because it'll help you understand how laughable this second film is obviously going to be. So it begins with a bunch of bad guys armed to the teeth with weapons, and they drive around shooting a load of what seem to be like bikers to me. Now the funny thing is, this shootout lasts for about 8 minutes, and just from these few clips here, you can see that the bad guys driving around seem to be invincible. So does this mean that they're cyborg cops? Hardly. We didn't even see a cyborg cop in the first movie. Remember this guy? Complete joke. Or perhaps this dickhead.
Back in action.
Yeah, back in action. Great line. Now speaking of great lines, this movie is even more ludicrous than the original. Check out these two obviously gifted heavyweight actors showboating their talents off.
You fat fuck! You bald fuck! Maybe we should come back tomorrow, huh?
Right.
So the cops arrive and another dull shootout takes place, and just who casually rides in on his bike looking super duper cool? Yep, it's Jack, played by David Bradley, who you may remember from such classics like Cyborg Cop 1. Yeah, he's that versatile. But does he have his bum bag on him like before? We'll find out in a second. Come on people, place your bets. Does Jack have his fanny pack on again? Yes! What a true hero. Stud.
We're gonna work something out here. I wanna make you happy.
You've already made me happy, lad, by wearing that bum bag.
Fuck, not again.
That's a point. This film sadly doesn't have John Rhys-Davies in it, calling everybody lad.
Well done, lad. I were the big lad.
That's a real shame. He could have also used his shitty flying toy plane to blow people up for our entertainment. So Jack goes on a one-man mission to shoot a few bad guys after he's got his gun from, yeah, you guessed it, and then goes on to have a kickboxing fight with the bald bastard. Now, where are Cyborg Cops going to come into this film? Well, the bad guys are taken away from prison and experimented on just for a laugh, and look at that, that's lame. Plus he looks proper fat in that cheap rubber suit.
You fat fuck!
Yeah, you're eating your own words there, lad. He's also now called Spartacus for some reason. But why not? Before you know it, he's out of control, and why does he have one stupid metal foot and hand like this asshole did in the first film? He's got one boot on, what did they do with the other one? Just throw it away because they wanted people to see him and go, he must be a cyborg cop because he's only got one boot on. Give me a break.
Time of the cyborg has arrived.
What's happened to his voice as well? It's really difficult to understand what he says half of the time.
Doctor, I'm going to build a cyborg army.
I know, this guy can't act, but come on, dub his voice over at a slightly better quality, please. Now, unbelievably, this guy somehow becomes the leader of the rest of the metal freaks, and he tells them to kill all the scientists. Look at him go, really enjoying himself there by shooting a 3-foot-long flame which blows up the facility. And I thought Cyborg Cop 1 was shocking. So let's go back to Mr. Fanny Pack. Driving around on his bike, cool as ever, kind of reminds me of Arnie from Terminator 2. And he doesn't even need a helmet for safety, he just needs his bum bag. Now, Jack doesn't like people following him around, so kicking their car door is the best natural option. Then another random goon just decides to join into the fight, but Jack sorts him out, gives the car another kick in, and oh look, another guy joining in. What's going on? I have no idea. Like here, Jack walks into some building, takes out a bunch of security men in laughable fashion, and then blames a dog for the trouble. It's all your fault. You funny fucker, Jack. Even when people run him over in a phone box, he still tries and fails with his witty one-liners.
You know, if you wanted to use the phone, all you had to do was ask. I was gonna be off in a minute. No, Ryan, I'm really pissed at you.
Now this is one of my favourite Jack moments. The cyborgs, I'm not even going to call them cyborg cops, okay, are beating the shit out of some men working at a garage for no reason whatsoever, but it is quite funny, especially when this asshole decides to mimic the fat bastard.
What the fuck is going on here?
What the fuck is going on here?
Oh yeah, you trying to make fun of me?
You trying to make fun of me?
Okay.
Anyway, this little kid is running away from this cyborg who simply can't quite walk fast enough to get to him, and in rides Jack on his bike. Why does he always ride his bike? I mean, what's wrong with him? Is he a cripple and unable to walk? Yet able to execute death-defying flying kicks? Well, whatever. Notice this is all happening in slow motion too. Kinda reminds me of all that bollocks from Battlefield Earth. Sadly, it doesn't add much to the tension of the moment, it just makes you laugh even more at the sheer shiteness of it all. Step 1, kick the cyborg. Step 2, pick up the little kid despite the fact that he was about to get into his mother's car. Step 3, ride away with the kid like you're about to abduct him. Step 4, casually place the kid into the car in slow motion and drive off like the world's coolest, baddest goddamn son of a bitch that ever lived. And you should watch where you're driving, you stupid old bint. Now she drives off to safety, but I think this is what should have happened to drill home to the morons what can happen if you don't keep your eyes on the road. Oh dear me. So Jack goes back to the garage and decides to fight the bald, turned fat bastard Cyborg and gets his ass handed to him. Some pigs turn up but they all die in glorious fashion. I mean, one thing this film does have going for it is some decent battle sequences despite being low budget and cheesy as hell. Still crap though. Jack teams up with a friendly old sheriff, like you do, to take down the cyborgs, so the cyborgs turn up at the sheriff's farm, but don't ask me how, and the most confusing, stupid and bizarre scene takes place.
Freeze.
Okay, Jack's shitty one-liner to start with, and then for what seems like 2 minutes, he stands there using a soldering iron to attack the cyborg, and then occasionally whacks him with a fire extinguisher. What's that all about? Drugs, kids, just say no. Unlike the people who obviously made this film. Drugs, yes please. And meanwhile outside, the friendly old sheriff is getting blown up and then stabbed, and what does Jack do? He doesn't care, he just carries on soldering the cyborg to the table and whacking him some more. This film is pure comedy. So the sheriff dies, Jack takes out another cyborg easy peasy like only Jack the fanny pack man could do, and let's move on to the ending because this is bollocks. So Jack teams up with this lady here to destroy the cyborgs who are all chilling out in a giant factory in the middle of nowhere, and they plan to turn the world into cyborgs. Great storyline, yeah? So after destroying a bunch of mannequins standing around, Jack talks to the leader cyborg via a big screen and challenges him to a one-on-one scrap.
Come on, Starkraven, I'm calling you out! You and me!
Bring him to me. Now.
This is appalling, yet highly entertaining and thoroughly engaging. So the big fight isn't as funny as the ultimate fight in the first film, and after recently reviewing The Graveyard Shift with Warwick's grand battle, this is, how shall I phrase it? Oh yeah, fucking awful. Jack then gets upstaged by a random little shit who uses a giant magnet to stop the bad guy, who hangs around coming out with some awful embarrassing lines like "No more Mr. Nice Guy" before he falls, and Jack throws a magic lighter onto him which somehow makes him blow up. Fair enough, and then Jack walks off happily into the sunset knowing that he will not return in Cyborg Cop 3, which I will not review ever because it's that bad, so I'll tell you my score for that shitty film now, it's 1 out of 10. Hang on though, how are they walking out free as a bird when all these robotic knobheads are still alive? Doesn't make any sense. Did they just let Jack go and decide to turn good and try and fit in with normal humans despite having an odd metal foot? Jesus Christ, I give up. So this isn't as amazing as Cyborg Cop 1, which isn't saying much to be honest, but it's definitely shitter. But what does Professor Bruce think to it? It's shit. So with that pointless scientific input, I'm going to give Cyborg Cop 2 3 out of 10.